Welcome to the Sleep Outpost. If you enjoy drifting off to sleep with stories like this, hit subscribe so you never miss a new one. Now, settle in, take a deep breath, and let tonight's journey begin. A springtime sleep story for the Sleep Outpost. Find a comfortable position now. Let your body sink a little deeper into whatever is holding you. Let your hands rest open, loose, easy. Close your eyes if you haven't already. And allow your breathing to slow just slightly, just naturally. Breathe in through your nose and out through your mouth. There is nowhere to be tonight. Nothing to do, nothing to remember. Only this story, only this quiet, only the soft and ancient world waiting to welcome you. There's a village that sits at the bottom of a long green valley in the west of England. A valley so old that the hills surrounding it have worn themselves smooth over thousands upon thousands of years. Their flanks covered in pale winter grass slowly greening, dotted with hawthorn hedges and low dry stone walls that have been rebuilt and rebuilt again so many times that no one could say when the first stones were placed there. Only that they have always been there, always gray, always soft with lichen, always keeping their quiet watch over the fields below. The village is called Thornfield. It is not a famous village. It does not appear in guidebooks or on maps that tourists carry. It is simply a village, a cluster of stone cottages, a small post office that shares its space with a tea shop, a Norman chapel on a low rise at the far end of the high street, and a river called the Thorn that runs along the edge of everything, shallow and unhurried. Its water the color of dark tea where it passes beneath the alders, and pale as silver where it opens out into broader shallows. Tonight, or rather in these last slow hours before the dawn of Easter morning, Thornfield is asleep. Every window is dark. Every chimney is still. The village has folded itself inward, as villages do in the deepest part of the night, pulled the soft weight of sleep over itself like a thick woolen blanket, and surrendered to the darkness. And the darkness here is very gentle. It is not the sharp, unfeeling darkness of a city at night. It is a country darkness, layered and warm, threaded through with the distant sound of an owl calling from somewhere up the valley, and the faint murmur of the river, and once in a while the softest stirring of wind through the new leaves on the beech trees at the edge of the churchyard. This darkness has texture. It is the kind of darkness that holds you rather than frightens you, that wraps itself around the world like something protective and tender. Let your breathing slow now, in and out. Let the sound of the river carry you. You are here at the edge of this darkness. You have arrived not by car, not with luggage or noise or urgency. You have simply arrived, the way you arrive in dreams, already present, already belonging. You are standing at the beginning of a narrow lane that leads down into the village from the ridge above, and the lane is bordered on both sides by old hedgerows, thick with the sleeping shapes of dog rose and blackthorn and elder. And beneath your feet the path is soft, not muddy, just soft. The way old earth becomes soft when it has been walked for centuries, when it has learned the weight of human feet and settled itself accordingly. The air is cool. It is that particular coolness that exists only in the hours before dawn in early spring, when the night has drawn all the warmth back into the earth, and the sky above is vast and dark and scattered with stars. More stars than you can count, more stars than you would expect, because there are no other lights here to drown them out, and so they exist in their full quiet extravagance, thick and silver and somehow close, as though you could reach up and brush them with your fingertips if you wanted. Let your shoulders soften, breathe slowly. There is nothing to do but listen. You do not walk quickly along this lane. There is no reason to. The village will wait. The morning will come in its own time. And so you move the way water moves in a slow stream, without effort, without hurry, one step and then another, the soft crunch of grit beneath your feet, the cool air settling against your cheeks like a gentle hand. On either side of you the hedgerows breathe in their sleep. A blackbird shifts somewhere deep within the hawthorn, a small sound, barely a rustle, and is still again. Ahead of you the lane curves to the left, and at the curve there is a gap in the hedge where a gate stands open, and through the gate you can just make out the beginning of the village. A gray stone wall, a pale path, the dark shapes of cottages with their sleeping windows, and somewhere beyond it all, carried on the air, the faintest scent of something sweet and green and unmistakably spring, a scent of wet earth and new leaves and something floral, something that has not yet fully opened but is nearly there. Nearly ready, hovering at the very edge of becoming. You breathe it in, let it reach all the way down into your chest. Let it settle there, soft as pollen, soft as the promise of warmth. This is Easter morning, just beginning, and the whole of it is yours. The gate at the bottom of the lane is made of old iron, dark with age. Its hinges long since grown into the stone pillars on either side of it, so that it no longer swings but simply stands, a permanent opening, a permanent welcome, as much a part of the landscape as the walls themselves. Someone has threaded a length of ivy along the top bar of the gate, and from the ivy hang 3 small painted eggs on lengths of faded ribbon, pale blue, soft yellow, the faintest blush of pink, turning slowly, barely moving, in the almost imperceptible breath of the night air. You pause here. You allow yourself to pause here, to stand at the threshold of the village and simply look, simply receive what is before you. The eggs turn. The ribbon catches a little of the starlight. There is no need to analyze this, no need to understand it. It is simply beautiful, the kind of beauty that exists without explanation, the kind that asks nothing of you except presence. Breathe in slowly, feel your chest rise, and let the breath go softly. The high street of Thornfield, which is really only a wide path between 2 rows of cottages, stretches ahead of you in the darkness, its pale stone surfaces catching what little light the sky offers. The cottages are old, many of them are 300 or 400 years old, built of the same local gray-gold limestone as the walls and the chapel, their roofs low and thick with moss, their windows set deep into the stone with wide sills where, even at this hour, you can make out small things left there by the people who live inside. A terracotta pot with a geranium not yet flowering, a china cat, a glass lantern with a burned-out candle. The village is full of this kind of detail you begin to notice now that your eyes are adjusting to the darkness. There is a hanging basket by one door, so full of trailing lobelia that it has become a soft blue cloud suspended in the air. There is a climbing rose up one cottage wall, its canes tied back in neat fans, the first buds forming, tight and pale and full of potential. At the corner of one cottage someone has placed a row of painted stones along the bottom of the wall, small, round, each one bearing a tiny flower painted in careful bright colors, visible even now as pale shapes against the gray stone. Let your body be heavy now, let the ground hold you completely. This is a village that loves small things. You can feel it everywhere, in the care that has been taken with every small detail, every little gesture of color and welcome. Someone has painted a wooden sign by the post office door, "Happy Easter," in uneven letters surrounded by hand-drawn daffodils. Someone else has hung a wreath on the door of the tea shop, not a Christmas wreath, but a spring one, made of twisted willow and threaded with dried lavender and sprigs of rosemary and tiny, felt flowers in yellow and white. These things have all been made by hand. You can feel that. You can feel the hours of quiet work that went into them, someone sitting by a window on a gray March evening, a cup of tea cooling at their elbow, threading ribbon through willow, painting stones by lamplight, letting the small, careful work of making beauty be its own reward. You walk slowly along the high street, and the village sleeps around you, and you do not disturb it. Your footsteps are soft. You are as quiet as the night itself. And the night is very quiet, quiet enough that you can hear, beneath everything, the low and constant voice of the river somewhere to your right, beyond a line of old cottages, behind a garden wall, flowing without urgency over smooth, rounded stones. Breathe slowly, let your shoulders drop. You are safe here and everything is still. At the far end of the high street, the lane curves right and rises slightly onto the low promontory where the chapel stands. You can see it from here, a dark shape against the dark sky, but distinct, solid, ancient feeling, its small square tower topped with a weather vane that you cannot make out but know is there. A simple iron cockerel that has stood through 300 winters and shown no inclination to come down. Around the chapel, the churchyard lies quiet, its stones tilted and soft with age, its grass long and uncut between the oldest graves where no one tends it anymore. And all of this is fine, all of this is as it should be. The grass and the stones and the passing of time have found their own agreement. You walk toward it, not because you are being drawn there by anything urgent, but because it is the natural direction of this lane, this morning, this soft and unhurried unfolding of things. The chapel is older than anyone in the village can quite say. The east wall was built by the Normans. You can tell by the rounded arch of the doorway, the simple carved chevrons around its edge worn almost smooth by 800 years of rain and touch, the small narrow window above it like a closed eye. But the rest has been added to and altered over the centuries, each generation leaving its own careful mark. A Tudor porch, a Georgian window of clear glass that lets in a wide square of light on sunny mornings, a Victorian bellcote with a single iron bell that rings on Sunday mornings and feast days and has rung on this particular morning, Easter morning, for as long as anyone can remember. But the bell is not ringing now. The bell is asleep like the village, and the chapel stands in its sleeping stillness, wrapped in ivy. The ivy is extraordinary. It has been growing here for longer than anyone alive can remember, and it has covered most of the north wall entirely. Its stems as thick as a wrist near the base, thinner and more exploratory toward the eaves, its thousands of dark glossy leaves layered and overlapping like the scales of something very old and very patient. In summer, the ivy is impenetrably dark. But now, in the first weeks of spring, new growth is beginning. The very tips of the ivy stems are putting out small, pale, tender leaves, almost translucent in their newness, each one a slightly different shade of green, from the palest almost yellow to a deep and vivid emerald. Let your breathing slow and deepen now, in through your nose, out through your mouth, soft and easy. You stand before the chapel and look up at the ivy, and you feel, without quite knowing why, a deep sense of rightness. This is a thing that has been growing for a very long time. It has grown through plague and prosperity, through wars that came to this valley as nothing more than distant rumors, through the slow revolutions of season that come and come again regardless of what human beings do with their brief time on earth. The ivy does not know what Easter is. It only knows the light, which is beginning, barely beginning, to change in the east. Because something is changing, you notice it now. The sky to the east, above the ridge that you came down from, is no longer quite as dark as it was. There is a quality to it, not light exactly, not yet, but the absence of the deepest darkness, a kind of softening, as though the night is beginning to reconsider. The stars in that quarter of the sky have dimmed slightly. The sky there is a very deep blue now rather than black. And the blue is so dark and so beautiful that you stand for a moment looking at it, letting it fill your eyes. Around the chapel, the churchyard is soft and still. The old graves with their leaning stones are silver gray in the last of the darkness. The grass between them is long and slightly wet with dew. You can feel the dampness of it if you step off the path, which you do, just a few steps, just enough to feel the cool, wet grass against your feet. It is very cold, and very soft, and very alive. Breathe gently now, feel the coolness of the air, feel how still everything is. Somewhere in the churchyard, close to the old south wall, there are daffodils. You can smell them before you see them, that particular clean, sharp sweetness that daffodils have, so familiar and so completely itself, not like any other flower. You follow the scent to where they grow, a thick cluster of them pressed against the churchyard wall, their yellow heads nodding very gently in the slight breeze, their petals cool and smooth when you hold one in your cupped hand, careful not to pick it. And there, nestled at the base of the daffodils, half hidden by the long grass, is an egg. It is not a real egg, it is wooden. You can feel its weight and smoothness when you crouch down and pick it up. It is painted the deepest blue, the color of the sky at this very moment, and on it someone has painted a pattern of tiny white flowers, each petal no bigger than a raindrop, arranged in a ring around the middle. It is a beautiful thing. You hold it in both hands and look at it, and feel something warm and inexplicable settle in your chest. You place it back where you found it, gently, exactly as it was. It is not yours to take. It belongs to the morning, and to the daffodils, and to the long, patient wait of winter that is now, finally, over. Let your shoulders soften. There is nothing to hold on to. Breathe slowly. You are here. The chapel door is old oak, iron-banded, and it stands very slightly ajar, as if someone has been in earlier and left in a hurry, or as if it has simply been left open, as perhaps it always is, because this is that kind of place. Through the gap you can see the inside, very dim, just the faint shapes of old wooden pews, the pale stone of the altar, and on the windowsill, a row of small candles in glass holders, their flames burning so steadily in the enclosed air that they look like something painted rather than real. You stand in the doorway for a moment and breathe in the particular scent of old churches. Cold stone and something slightly sweet, perhaps old wood polish or perhaps the faint ghostly trace of incense from long ago, and something else, the smell of flowers. Whoever arranged this chapel for Easter brought flowers from the garden, from the village. There are brass vases of daffodils and early tulips and the first pale bluebells of the year on the altar and on the wide windowsills. And in the first gray light coming through the Georgian window, their colors are soft and muted and deeply restful. You do not go in. You let the chapel hold its own peace. You stand at the threshold and breathe, and then you turn gently and walk on. Behind the chapel, past the far end of the churchyard, a wooden stile set into the old stone wall leads out of the village altogether and into the fields beyond. The stile is worn smooth from decades of use. The wood of the top step is hollowed slightly where boots have rested, one generation after another stepping over into the meadow, into the fields, into the long green breathing world outside the village boundary. You step over the stile now. And on the other side, the world opens. The meadow that stretches before you is wide and gently sloping, running down toward the river which you can hear, closer now, its soft and constant voice carried on the cool morning air. The meadow is full of long grass, not the kept and tidy grass of a lawn but true meadow grass, varied and wild, a mixture of species that have found their own balance over years of being left alone. Among the grass, the first wildflowers of spring are beginning to emerge. Pale yellow cowslips in small clusters, their flowers hanging like tiny bells on slender stems, the white stars of stitchwort threading through the grass with their delicate reaching tendrils. Patches of violet, true violet, deep and rich in color, pressed close to the ground along the base of the wall. Let your body be heavy and soft. Breathe in the meadow air. Breathe slowly. The ground beneath your feet as you step off the stile and into the meadow has a particular quality that you feel all the way through your body. A slight give, a slight spring, as though the earth here is deep and rich and full of life just below the surface, full of roots and mycelium and the slow underground workings of 1,000 small creatures. It is a gentle feeling. It is the feeling of a world that is entirely occupied with its own quiet business, entirely capable of caring for itself. The dew on the grass catches what little light there is and holds it. Every blade of grass has its small globe of moisture at the tip, and as you move through the meadow, these globes brush against your legs, leaving the fabric of your clothes cool and wet, and you don't mind this at all. The wetness is part of the morning. The morning is part of something much longer, Much larger, the turning of the year. The specific miracle of April returning again, bringing warmth by degrees, bringing green by degrees. A little more each day until the whole valley is full to overflowing with life. Breathe slowly now. Let your hands be soft and open. There is nowhere you need to be. You are perhaps 50 steps into the meadow when you notice the first egg. It is tucked into the base of a large tussock of grass, barely visible. You might have walked straight past it, just a glimpse of soft lavender color against the dark earth. You go toward it carefully, stepping over the cowslips and crouch down. It is another wooden egg, this one lavender purple, painted with a design of tiny interlinked spirals in a slightly darker shade, and around the middle of it, in a careful hand, a single word: remember. You hold it for a moment. You think about that word. You think about what it might mean here, on Easter morning, in a meadow full of dew and cowslips. And then you think about nothing at all, because the word is only a word, and the meadow is a meadow, and the morning is coming, and all of it is enough. You set the egg back down, you stand up, you breathe. Ahead of you, the meadow continues its gentle slope downward toward the river. You can see the line of it now, the willows and alders along the bank, their branches just beginning to show their first green, a thin, hazy softness in the gray air above the water. Between here and the river, the meadow is wide and open and full of morning quietness, and you walk through it without hurry, letting your steps find their own rhythm, letting your eyes rest on whatever they rest on, the bright yellow of a buttercup just opening, the blue flash of a field violet, the white drift of wood anemones in the shade along the wall. Let your breathing be slow and natural, in and out, easy and soft. There are more eggs. You begin to notice them as you move through the meadow. They are not hidden so much as placed, tucked into the landscape with care, each one resting in its own small found space. A pale yellow egg in the grass beside a rabbit burrow, decorated with painted hawthorn leaves. A deep green egg wedged into the crook of a low-growing blackthorn branch, its surface covered in a pattern of golden dots. A small white egg, no bigger than a song thrush's, cradled in a tuft of moss at the base of the wall, painted with a single pink rose in full bloom. Each one is different. Each one is beautiful. Each one has been placed with the same quiet care, not hidden to be found competitively, not part of a race or a game, but placed the way you might place a flower on a grave or light a candle in a church. As a small act of devotion to the season, to the morning, to the ongoing miracle of things returning. You walk through the meadow and you find the eggs one by one, and you hold each one for a moment and you set it back down, and the meadow is quiet around you, and the sky to the east is lighter now, the deep blue giving way to something softer, and the river is getting closer, and you breathe and breathe and breathe. The river, the Thorn, is small enough here to call a stream. It runs perhaps 4 or 5 paces wide, and in most places it is clear enough to see the bottom, the smooth dark stones sitting in the shallow current, occasional tufts of water weed trailing downstream. The bank on your side is soft and low, grown over with a thick carpet of grass and forget-me-nots that come right down to the water's edge, their tiny blue flowers trembling at the vibration of the current. You stand at the water's edge for a moment. You listen. The river makes its sound, that particular layered sound of shallow, moving water, part high and crystalline where it catches on a stone, part low and rolling where it finds a deeper channel, never quite the same note twice, but always the same music. A music so old and so continuous that it has become part of the landscape's silence rather than a disruption of it. You let this sound fill you. You let it come all the way in. You feel it settle behind your eyes, behind your sternum, in the loose warmth of your hands. Breathe slowly. Let the sound of the water carry your thoughts downstream. Let them go. To your left, along the riverbank, a gate stands between 2 old stone pillars, and through it you can see the beginning of the orchard. The orchard belongs to the old farmhouse at the edge of the village, though the farmhouse has not been a working farm for 20 years, and the orchard now looks after itself mostly. The trees pruned by a neighbor who does it for pleasure, not for profit, who loves the trees for what they are rather than what they produce. There are perhaps 30 trees in the orchard, a mixture of apple and pear, and one old damson in the far corner that no one has been able to identify properly. Its fruit each autumn dark purple and intensely sweet, and unlike anything you can buy. In the first days of spring, before the leaves are fully out, these trees are at their most beautiful. Every apple tree is in blossom, or nearly so. The buds have opened in the warm days of the past week, and now each branch is hung with clusters of pale pink and white flowers, hundreds of them on each tree, thousands of them in the orchard as a whole, so that the whole space has the quality of a dream, of something too gentle and too perfect to be quite real. And the scent of apple blossom in the morning air, is one of the softest and most beautiful things in the world. A sweetness that is not cloying but clean, that carries something of honey and something of grass and something of the cold river air all at once. Let your shoulders be soft, let your face relax, breathe in the blossom. You pass through the gate and into the orchard. The grass here is longer than in the meadow, not cut, allowed to grow up between the trees and mix with the wildflowers that have seeded themselves here over the years. Campion in pink clusters, yellow archangel spreading its soft golden leaves. Here and there a patch of bluebells not yet open, but their stems already up, their buds still tightly closed and nodding in the slight breeze. Under the oldest apple tree, the one nearest the river, its trunk twisted and mossy and enormous, its branches spreading wider than any single tree should reasonably manage. A wooden bench has been placed at some point in the distant past, and the bench is green with age, its wood soft, its joints slightly loose, but it is still a bench. It still holds the shape of sitting, and someone has tied a small painted egg to one arm of it on a piece of white ribbon. This egg is gold. Not bright gold, not metallic, a warm and gentle gold, the color of late afternoon sun on old stone, and it is painted with a design of intertwined leaves and flowers that goes all the way around it in a continuous wreath, and in the center of the wreath, barely visible unless you look closely, a small heart. You sit on the old bench for a moment. The orchard is very quiet. The blossom above you moves in the lightest of breezes, and each movement releases a faint drift of scent, and the river continues its soft litany just beyond the wall, and the light in the east is now unmistakably growing. You can feel it even before you can see it clearly, a warmth beginning at the edge of things, the stars fading, the sky above the ridge turning from deep blue to something paler, something with violet in it. Breathe gently, feel the bench beneath you, feel the coolness of the morning air. A wood pigeon lands in the topmost branches of the apple tree above you and makes its low, repeating sound, coo-roo, coo-roo, soft and unhurried, the sound itself a kind of drowsiness, as though the bird is half asleep and calling from inside a dream. You listen to it for a long time. The sound continues and continues again, and pauses again, and each time it pauses you find yourself wondering whether it is finished, and each time it begins again you realize you were glad to wait. The blossom drifts down, a petal at a time, 2 petals, a slow soft fall of palest pink, and lands on your sleeve, on the bench, on the grass at your feet, where it rests among the forget-me-nots like something placed deliberately. Beyond the orchard, through a second gate in the far wall, this one of wood, painted blue once, the paint now worn to silver gray, there is a garden. A walled garden. You did not know it was here from the lane, and perhaps it is the kind of place that can only be found by wandering, by allowing yourself to follow the morning wherever it leads. The walls are high, higher than the surrounding fields, high enough to create their own climate inside, to hold the warmth and stillness in a way that the open meadow cannot. And as you step through the blue gate into the walled garden, you feel the change immediately. A slight softening of the air, a degree or two of warmth held by the stone, a stillness that is not silence exactly, but something deeper than silence, a quality of enclosure that feels protective rather than confining. The garden has been here a long time. The walls are covered in climbing plants, an old wisteria on the south wall, its trunk a pale, twisted rope against the stone, its new leaves just opening, a few early flower spikes forming at the base of each new shoot but not yet open, not yet lavender, still wrapped in their papery sheaths. Against the north wall, an espalier pear, its branches trained flat against the stone in careful horizontal tiers, each branch thick with white blossom, the petals smaller and more delicate than the apple, the scent sharper and slightly more wild. Let your body be completely heavy now. Breathe slowly and deeply. Let everything soften. Along the center of the garden, a path of old brick runs from the blue gate to a sundial at the far end. The bricks are uneven, settled into the earth over generations until they are almost part of it, their surface rough and warm-toned, a deep terracotta fading in places to pink, in others to a dark rusty red, and between the bricks, in the narrow gaps, soft moss has established itself in thin green lines, so that the whole path looks like something embroidered, something made with very great patience. On either side of the path, the beds are wide and deep and full of the tumbled early growth of spring. Clumps of catmint already beginning to mound and sprawl, the silver-green rosettes of lambs ear-pressed flat and felt soft, early geraniums with their sharply scented leaves, and everywhere, pushing up through everything, finding light between the stems, threading through the catmint, nestled at the feet of the pear tree, growing in a thick patch against the south wall, more daffodils. More daffodils than you have ever seen in one place, it feels like, though that can't be true, but in this enclosed and quiet space, they have a particular intensity, their yellow deepened by the warmth of the walls, their scent accumulated and concentrated until it is almost something you could hold. Breathe in that scent, breathe all the way in, and let go. The eggs in this garden are more numerous than in the meadow, and they are placed with a different kind of care, not tucked into the landscape but offered to it, set in small, deliberate positions that seem to be in conversation with the plants around them. A deep orange egg at the base of the daffodils, its surface painted with a sun. A pale green egg in the fork of the pear tree, low enough to reach, its pattern of interlocking diamonds almost invisible against the lichen. A small collection of 3 eggs, blue, white, and palest rose, arranged in a triangle in the center of the catmint bed, each one painted differently, but all of them bearing the same simple image. A small bird in flight, barely more than a brushstroke. You move through the garden slowly, finding eggs as you go, holding each one for the length of a breath or two before setting it back. There is something about this activity, the finding, the holding, the gentle setting back, that is deeply restful, that requires just enough attention to keep the mind from wandering into worry or noise while asking nothing of you but presence. You are present. You are here. The garden is here. The blossom is here. The slow-growing light is here. Let your face be soft. Let your jaw release. Let your eyes be heavy. At the far end of the garden, beside the sundial, which is old, its face weathered so that the hour lines are barely visible, its gnomon green with age, there is a stone bench backed against the east wall, and above the bench the wall has been left unplanted so that it catches the full morning light. You can see, as you approach, that the stone of this wall is warm already. The sun has not yet risen over the ridge, but its light is spreading, and the stone has begun to hold it. You run your hand along the wall as you walk toward the sundial. The stone is cool but not cold. It is rough and slightly grainy beneath your fingers, the texture of something very old and very solid, and in the low morning light you can see every variation in the surface. Here a crystal of quartz catching the light, there a patch of lichen in palest gray-green, spreading in a slow circle no bigger than your palm, growing perhaps a millimeter each year, patient beyond all patience. There is a gate in the east wall of the garden, a small one, barely a gap, and through it a narrow path winds up through a band of old woodland, dark and damp smelling, the ground thick with dead leaves from a dozen autumns, and then through the trees onto the open hillside above, where the grass is short and sheep-cropped, and the air is clear and wide, and the whole valley is laid out below you, still in shadow, still in its deep morning sleep. You climb the hill slowly. There is no need to climb it quickly. The hill is not tall, it is a gentle hill, a village hill, the kind of hill that people have climbed on Easter morning for as long as this village has been a village, carrying their wonder with them, bringing it up to where the sky is bigger and the world is wider, and the coming of the light is something you can watch happening. Let your breathing be natural and easy, in and out, one step and then another. The grass on the hillside is cool and slightly springy underfoot, and between the blades of grass you can see, as your eyes adjust to looking at the ground, the first tiny flowers of the hilltop. Common violet, its flowers so small you might easily miss them, but once seen impossible to unsee, their purple to white gradient a whole universe of color in a space no wider than your thumbnail. And thyme, creeping thyme, already giving off its faint, dry, aromatic scent when you brush against it. A scent that belongs to this particular kind of hillside, to chalk and limestone and old sheep pasture. From the top of the hill, which takes you only a few minutes to reach, moving at this unhurried pace, the view is very wide. The valley runs east to west, and you are standing at its eastern end, facing west, so the whole length of it is before you. The river winding silver in the shadows below, the village clustered around its chapel, the patchwork of fields stretching away, some dark with newly turned earth, some pale and shaved with winter wheat just beginning to green, some still the buff of dried grass waiting for the warmth to wake it. And beyond the valley, more hills. And beyond those hills, more, receding in layers of blue and gray and blue again, each range paler than the last, until the furthest ones are almost indistinguishable from the sky. Let your shoulders drop, breathe slowly, let the valley hold your eyes and let your eyes grow soft. And now the light begins. It does not come suddenly. It never comes suddenly, not when you are watching it carefully, not when you are paying attention. What happens is this: the very top of the ridge above you, the ridge to the east, behind you, begins to glow. A warmth enters the underside of the clouds. The sky directly above turns from pale violet to a clear and luminous blue. And then, and this is the thing, this is the particular Easter thing, this is what generations of human beings have climbed hills at dawn to witness. The first light comes over the ridge and falls on the valley below, and everything it touches turns gold. It comes down the valley like something breathing. The far fields catch it first, the ones on the hilltops to the west where the light arrives most quickly, and they flare briefly gold before settling into their ordinary green. Then the lower fields. Then the tops of the trees. Then the village, the chapel tower catching the first direct light and turning from gray to amber in a matter of seconds, the stone walls of the cottages lit sideways and warm, every surface throwing a long, soft shadow to the west. And then the light reaches the river, and the river becomes, for one brilliant and completely silent moment, a thread of pure gold running through the center of the world. Breathe in this light, let it reach all the way into you, breathe slowly. You stand on the hillside, and you watch this happen, and you feel the warmth of the first sun on your face, the first actual warmth since yesterday. A warmth that is entirely different from the warmth of a room or a blanket, wider, more generous, arrived from somewhere unimaginably distant, falling on you without distinction, the same light that falls on the chapel and the daffodils and the sleeping river and the smallest violet in the grass. You are very still, and the world is very full. Down the other side of the hill, where it turns back toward the village through an avenue of old limes just beginning to bud, there is a garden that most people walk past without noticing, because its walls are low and the entrance is set back from the path, and the hedge in front of it has grown up tall enough to obscure the gate. But you find it. This morning you find everything. and you push the gate open with one hand and step inside. This is the bee garden. It was planted, someone local told someone once, by a Victorian woman named Alina, who kept bees for 40 years and believed that the bees should have a garden made entirely for them. Flowers chosen for their nectar, arranged so that something was always in bloom from the first warm days of March through to the last stragglers of October. She planted it with lavender and borage and phacelia and catmint and thyme and marjoram, and the various lipped flowers that bees love most. And she planted fruit trees at the corners, and an old climbing rose against the south wall that now in mid-April will be heavy with single white flowers, though today its buds are only just beginning to show color. Let yourself sink a little deeper now. Breathe slowly and softly. There is nothing but this garden and this morning. The bees are not active yet. It is still too cool, too early in the morning for the bees to be flying. They are in their hive, which stands at the far end of the garden against the old lime tree, a traditional straw skep shape, made actually of wood but painted to look like straw, a fanciful thing, a thing made out of love for the idea of bees rather than practical beekeeping. The hive is very quiet. But it is not still. If you stand close enough you can hear, very faintly, the hum of it, the collective warmth of thousands of creatures clustered inside against the night's cold, their wings vibrating just enough to keep the temperature up. A sound so low and steady and continuous that it is more like a feeling than a sound. You stand near the hive and listen. The garden around you is full of the early morning bird chorus, which is at its most various and most beautiful in the first hour after dawn. But in this enclosed space, with its walls damping the distance and its plantings absorbing the sound, the birdsong becomes something softer. You hear it but gently, as background music, as warmth. A robin nearby is singing its long, flowing, slightly melancholy song, the song it sings year-round but which sounds different in spring, fuller somehow, more assured. Further away, a song thrush repeats each phrase twice. A habit of thrushes, this repetition, as though they want to be sure you heard. Breathe in gently, breathe out completely. Let the birdsong fill the space behind your thoughts. There are eggs here too, but placed with particular care, as though whoever put them here understood that the bee garden is a different kind of place, a quiet place, a place that asks for quietness in return. There is a single egg, dark amber gold, at the base of the hive, half hidden in the grass. Its surface is smooth and undecorated. It is simply beautiful in its plainness. Its one warm color resonating with the yellow of the early morning light and the memory of blossom and the coming summer of honey. You sit on the low stone wall at the edge of the garden and let the sun fall on your face. The sun is fully up now, properly up, the first tentative warmth of an April morning becoming something slightly more definite, slightly more promising. Your hands, resting in your lap, are warm on their upper sides. The stone beneath you has not yet warmed through, but it is beginning, and you can feel the potential of it, the slow storing of heat that will make it warm to the touch by midday. Let your hands rest open in the warmth. Breathe slowly. Let your eyelids be heavy. The bee garden smells of sun-warmed thyme and the first faint sweetness of the rosemary coming into flower, and something else. A rich, dark sweetness from somewhere, the ghost of last summer's honey perhaps, carried in the wood of the hive, or simply the memory of it carried in you, in the part of you that knows what honey smells like and finds it comforting without needing to explain why. Everything in this garden is tended. Everything has been thought about with care, and yet it does not feel rigid or controlled. It feels alive, felt into, made with love and left to find its own way. The thyme has crept beyond the edges of its bed and threaded through the grass. The catmint has flopped forward over the path in a lavender cloud. The climbing rose has put out two long arching shoots that have wandered across the top of the wall and are heading somewhere of their own choosing. And this is fine. This is exactly fine. This is how a loved garden grows. There is, at the edge of the bee garden where the old lime tree, casts its first thin shadow of the morning, a bench. It is not like the one in the orchard. It is not wood at all, but stone, carved from a single long pale slab of the local limestone, supported on two carved stone feet, and it has been here so long that moss has colonized its surface in irregular patches of soft green and gold green and deep forest green, covering perhaps a third of the seat, leaving the rest as bare gray-white stone worn smooth and slightly hollow where people have been sitting for perhaps 200 years. You go to this bench now. You have been walking gently for a long time. The morning has given you so much beauty, so much quiet, so many small and careful things placed just so, and now it is offering you this, a place to rest. You sit down. The stone is cool through your clothes at first, and then, as you settle, it becomes less cool, and then it becomes simply the temperature of sitting, and after a moment you don't notice it at all. Your back rests against the old lime tree, whose bark is ridged and furrowed, slightly rough, slightly warm from the sun already reaching its lower trunk. Your legs are easy in front of you. Your hands are in your lap. Let your eyes close now, just softly, just easily, breathe in the morning air. The bee garden is very quiet. The sun is warming it slowly, and the warmth is bringing out the scent of things, the thyme most strongly, and beneath it the green and faintly medicinal smell of the catmint and the soft sweetness of the rosemary, and somewhere a narcissus opening its petals, adding that clean and distant trumpet smell to the air. All of these scents layer themselves gently, one over another, not competing but composing, making a whole that is more than any of its parts. The robin is still singing. Somewhere further away, a blackbird has taken up its fluting song, and the two sounds weave together without interfering. The robin's voice thin and high and threading, the blackbird's voice low and rich and rolling, moving in and out of each other like water. You let these sounds reach you without reaching toward them. You let them be there, and you let yourself be here, and the space between is warm and still and full of April. Let your breathing be slow and even, in through your nose, out through your mouth, slow, slow. You are not thinking about anything in particular now. The thoughts that were there when you arrived at this story, the familiar furniture of worry and planning and small anxiety, have drifted off somewhere, carried downstream by the river you sat beside, absorbed into the meadow, dissolved in the blossom-scented air of the orchard. In their place, there is a quietness that is not emptiness. It is a fullness, actually, the kind of fullness that comes when you have been very present with something beautiful for a long time, and the beauty has settled into you and become part of the texture of your rest. The warmth on your face is steady and gentle. The stone beneath you is solid and supporting. The lime tree at your back is patient, as trees are patient, waiting without effort for whatever the morning will bring. The bees in their hive are beginning to stir slightly. You hear the hum of it increase infinitesimally, a degree or two of warmth added as the first foragers prepare for the day. But this sound, too, is restful. It is the sound of a world going about its own gentle business, not requiring anything from you, perfectly content to proceed without your assistance. Breathe slowly, let your hands be soft, let your jaw release, let your eyes be still. Somewhere in the village, a clock chimes. You count the chimes without trying to count them. They are very soft, muffled by distance and by walls and by the general softness of the morning air. And by the time the last one fades, you are not sure how many there were, only that they were beautiful, that the sound was round and warm, and that it has now dissolved completely into the birdsong and the bee hum and the far-off voice of the river, leaving no trace, leaving only the continuation of the silence that always existed underneath it. This is the sound of Easter morning in Thornfield. This is the sound of a world that has come through its dark season and arrived, again, at the light. Let yourself drift now, let everything become softer, let the garden hold you. The sun moves, as it always does, without hurry. The shadow of the lime tree, which was falling to the west when you sat down, is now moving imperceptibly slowly, its edge creeping across the grass like the hand of a very slow and very peaceful clock. You are still in the warmth. You feel no urgency to move, no sense that anything is being lost or missed. The garden is completely capable of being what it is without your active participation. It simply asks you to rest. The stone bench is warm now. You feel that warmth through your whole body. And there is something about the warmth of stone, so different from the warmth of fabric or of heating, that is deeply calming. The warmth of something that has absorbed the sun over centuries, that is made of the same compressed matter as the hills themselves, that is in some sense giving back to you the heat of 1,000 Easters that have come before this one. Breathe very gently now. Let each breath be a little slower, a little shallower. Let your body do what it wants to do. The painted eggs are still there where you found them. The blue one in the daffodils, the gold one on the orchard bench, the amber one at the foot of the hive. You don't need to look at them to know they are there. You can feel them in the landscape, the way you can feel the presence of something beautiful even with your eyes closed, a warmth in the air, a particular quality of the morning, a sense that care has been taken and placed and left here for whoever comes to find it. Someone made these eggs over the past weeks, you think, made them in the evenings by lamplight, with small paintbrushes and steady hands, choosing colors that seemed right, inventing patterns, carrying them out into the village and the meadow and the gardens in the early morning, placing each one where it seemed to belong. Someone did this not for applause, not for any audience, but simply because the morning deserved it. Because Easter morning in Thornfield deserves to be full of small and careful beauty. Let your mind rest now. Let the thoughts dissolve like dew in the sun. You don't need to hold anything. The robin has stopped singing. It is still somewhere in the garden, perched on a low branch, watching, but quiet now, conserving its energy for the warmer part of the day. The blackbird, too, has fallen into a brief silence. In the pause of the birdsong, the world is quieter than you would have thought possible. So quiet that you can hear the very slight hiss of the wind in the uppermost branches of the lime tree, high above you, and the faint creak of the gate you came in through, swinging just slightly in that same breeze. Breathe in and out, slowly, slowly. The scent of the garden is warmer now. The thyme is giving off its full aromatic sweetness in the growing warmth. There is something resinous and distant, the buds of the lime tree, which when they first open have a scent unlike anything else, sharp and fresh and wild. There is still the daffodil sweetness carried over the low wall from the main garden and the ghost of apple blossom from the orchard beyond. The air here is layered with the scent of spring in full, unhurried bloom. You are very still. You have been very still for a long time, and the world has arranged itself around your stillness with perfect care. The birds have understood. The bees have understood. The sun has continued its slow passage, generous and unhurried, and the warmth on your face and hands and the length of your folded hands is a continuous and gentle thing, undemanding, freely given. Let your face be completely soft now. Let your mouth be slightly open. Let your breathing carry you. Somewhere in some other part of the village, someone is waking up. You sense it rather than hear it, a quality of the morning shifting slightly, a sense of the world beginning to come to itself, the day beginning its gentle arrival. But you are not part of that. Not yet. You are here in the bee garden, in this specific and quiet place, in the warmth of the old stone bench, in the company of the dormant hive and the watching lime tree and the moss on the wall and the thyme in the cracks between the bricks. Here everything is slow. Here everything is soft. Breathe slowly, one long breath in and out. The Easter eggs are in the meadow, in the daffodils, in the orchard, tucked into the wisteria and the pear tree, resting in the bee garden at the foot of the hive, each one painted with care, each one placed with love, each one a small and quiet statement: the darkness is over. The winter is over. The turning has happened while we slept, and we are here, on the other side of it, in the warm and blossom-scented morning, and everything is well. Everything is well. Breathe out, let it all go. Let the morning hold you. The willow by the river is trailing its new green fingers in the water. The cowslips in the meadow are nodding in the smallest breath of wind. The chapel stands in its ivy, its bell waiting for later, its candles burning in their quiet glass holders, the brass vases of daffodils giving their scent to the cold stone air. The village sleeps on, most of it, or wakes slowly, turning in warm beds, hearing the birds, feeling the light at the edges of curtains, deciding there is no hurry, deciding to stay just a little longer in the warmth. And you are here, in the garden, on the old bench, in the company of everything that is good about this morning. Let your body be heavy, let your hands be still, let your breathing carry you down into rest. The sun is warm on your closed eyelids. You can feel the red of it through the skin, a gentle warmth that is not bright, that is simply warmth, that asks nothing of your eyes but to stay soft and closed. The sounds of the garden are further away now. The bee hum is a low and continuous thread. The distant birdsong is like music heard from another room, muffled and beautiful. The scent of the thyme is still there, but soft now, as everything is soft. Everything is very far away and very close at the same time. The way things are when you are nearly asleep. Breathe in and breathe out, and let the breath be your only work. Thornfield rests in its valley. The hills rest around it. The river continues its patient, unending journey through the fields. The blossom is on the trees and will be on the trees for a little while longer, a little while more, before the petals fall and the fruit begins. The painted eggs are in their places in the landscape, carrying their quiet colors through the day, asking nothing, offering everything. And you are here. And everything is well. And the morning is gentle. And you can rest now. Breathe very slowly. Let each breath be softer than the last. Let yourself go. The Easter garden holds you. The old stone holds you. The warm and quiet and ancient morning holds you. And you drift down, now softly, into the deep rest that waits beneath the surface of everything. Beneath the river, beneath the meadow, beneath the village with its sleeping windows and its painted eggs and its old chapel standing patient in its ivy. Down into the warm and wordless dark where there is no morning and no evening. Only the breath, only the warmth, only the gentle, unceasing turning of the world. Rest now. You are in the garden. You are held. You are home. Breathe in and out, slowly, and let go, and let go. Sleep now, everything is well. The Easter Garden, a sleep story for the Sleep Outpost. Narration, Tilda 45-50 minutes, produced for adult sleep and relaxation.